At Gondola Partners, we specialize in alternative investments for financial advisors and a select group of advisors. So typically in the RIA space is where we focus. One of those alternative investments happens to be the tax lien fund. We've really institutionalized this asset class and made the processes repeatable to be able to put this into a fund that advisors can make a single allocation and have ongoing exposure to the asset class in an evergreen way. Very simply, a tax lien is an instrument that's sold by local governments or counties when a property owner is delinquent on their taxes. Those taxes get sold by the local government at auction to investors, and the investors are able to generate a reasonable return from those liens that they purchased. When I learned about tax liens, I didn't realize that they were really an investable asset class. But as time went on, and to really learn about this instrument, I learned how beautiful of an instrument it is because there's so many unique features that you don't see anywhere else in the investment universe. It's very much an underserved asset class that RIAs have not had access to, and for us to be able to structure this and bring that access to the RIA channel really gets me excited. Tax liens are not predatory. We look at it as a win-win-win. There's three different parties that are involved in a tax lien. You have the local government who is expecting tax revenue. You have the property owner, and then you have our investors. So from the local government standpoint, when we come in and buy a tax lien, they get their tax revenue on time. From the property owner standpoint, the delinquent property owner, they get a grace period now. So rather than being perhaps foreclosed on within 6 months, they enter a redemption period, which in many cases up to 2 years. And then the third party is us, and our investors are able to generate a reasonable return stream. And finally, it discourages neglect and abandonment. So oftentimes properties with unpaid taxes become neglected. And when an investor like us enters the picture, it really encourages getting that property back into productive use, either through that lien being redeemed or eventually getting through to disposition. And when a property is abandoned, disposition is very welcomed by the local community because it creates movement around that property and can get it back into productive use. Tax liens are very different than like typical bonds. They have statutory interest rates that are set by law, meaning there's no market-driven interest rate here. There's no inverse correlation between the price and the interest rate. Statutory rate starts at 18%, and the way that the auction mechanics work is you bid on the interest rate. So the bidding starts at the statutory rate at 18, and you could bid down from there, and that creates a competitive market for bidding on liens. Some states have also penalties, like New Jersey and Florida have a statutory interest rate of 18% and then a 5% penalty. So even in the case where you may be bidding a lien down to 3, 4, 5%, you always have that 5% penalty in those two states as well. Why does that matter? If you look like a year like 2022, where everything got hit pretty hard, especially fixed income, and the tax lien fund was positive during the calendar year of 2022. The tax lien fund has never had a down year. It's never had a down month, and it's just consistent and predictable. And then also, we have a 6% annualized yield that we distribute quarterly, and that can be either reinvested into the portfolio or for more income-oriented investors, they may want to realize that on a quarterly basis. When we're talking with advisors about the tax lien fund, they say, well, how do you guys select good liens? What are the good liens? And the simple answer is all liens are good liens. When you buy a tax lien, about 98%, maybe closer to 99% of all liens redeem within 3 years. So buy a lien, redeem in 3 years, meaning that lien was cleared. And to clear a lien, we get back our principal that we paid, the face value of the lien, and then interest and penalty. That lien instrument sits senior to the mortgage. So before you could do anything with that property, that lien needs to be cleared. Now, with all of that said, from a risk management standpoint, we use internal systems that have been built for over 7 years to analyze assessed values, to analyze in advance of auction to diligence what the float is going to be at auction, what the inventory is going to be at auction. So we're going to an auction, we know what we're bidding, and internally we grade all properties A, B, and C, and a lot of things around grading properties, but really what we're managing from a risk standpoint is duration. If you buy a tax lien, is it going to redeem in 6 months, 2 years, 3 years? And really being able to understand that framework is one of the most important things from a risk management standpoint. By analyzing data, you can get pretty good at predicting redemption rates across the portfolio. For advisors that are looking for more information, we have monthly fact sheets that include a lot of pretty detailed information, so both performance, data, and then historical risk metrics as well. We do a quarterly call for all of our investors. There are additional materials available on our website, full DDQ. In fact, we use Subscribe for all investor onboarding. It's the easiest way to complete alternative investment subdocs that I've seen. And then pick up the phone and give us a call. There's always someone you can talk with about the fund as well. Once we have an opportunity to go through how these instruments work, it's been pretty much consensus, like, wow, these are really great instruments.